If you guys find this video interesting, please share it around. The YouTube algorithm is definitely working against me like a jealous wife at the moment. So I will start the day with giving you a little chuckle. A little chuckle, because, people like to go to work in a good mood. And this was a particular news that made me go like, well, that happened. So nothing groundbreaking, nothing that affects the world. It's just like a little tiny thing. A university and college union apologizes after failing to include Jewish people on the list of the Holocaust victims. How dare you? Did we forget someone? Did we forget to include anyone? But apparently the university college union apologized after it left the Jews out of the Shoah. And of course the Jews are saying that it's completely unacceptable. The UCU had sent out an email to local association branch secretaries in which they were encouraged to observe HMD 2020. It describes how the Nazis had persecuted groups such as trade unions. Well, let's be honest, some trade unions were communist. I guess a broken clock is right twice a day. Margaret Thatcher also oppressed the trade unions, for example. Like, you don't need to be a Nazi in order to oppress the trade unions, just saying. Social democrats and communists. So, see, exactly what I said. Exactly what I said. It's like reading about the communists oppressing the Nazis. It's like, well, I don't care. But what about the Nazis oppressing the communists? Don't care either. It's like, let these two extremists oppress each other as much as they want. I generally do not care. Sitting here on the center on my little fence, wiggling my ass on the little fence. Look at me not caring. But I do care about, the Roma and the Sinti people. Yeah, that's horrible. Black people, that's horrible. Then again, like, the Nazis didn't really go overboard on oppressing black people. That's more of an American thing. They did oppress them, by the way, but not as much as other nations did. Disabled people, Freemasons, gay and lesbian people, Jehovah's Witness, and associates. Imagine going with such an extensive list and not including the Jewish people. They also include beggars, drug addicts, prostitutes, and pacifists. See, it's interesting because the communists oppress prostitutes in my country as well, and they oppress the gay people. This is why I don't care when these two extremists oppress each other, because they're vile, both of them, the communists and them, vile. In Eastern Europe here, we hold them to the same regard. I believe Poland actually passed a law calling the Nazis and the communists synonymous. In my country, you're not allowed to have a communist party and you're not allowed to have a Nazi party. They're considered to be anti-constitutional ideologies. They're against freedom, they're against liberty. You can't have democratic communism. You just can't. I know they're trying to push this democratic socialism bullshit, but they can't. And the reason they can't is because in order for communism to work, everyone has to be equal. But the people that are above average, they do not want to have their money taken away. It's simple as that. There's no easier explanation. It's like, with what right do you come to take away the property that I worked for in order to accomplish? With what right do you think you have to take my business away? But anyway, I digress, right? So I notice how they don't add the white people they oppressed. Like, people keep forgetting this, especially American ideology. They think that the Nazis were about white supremacy. No, they were about German supremacy. They didn't give a fuck about the French people they were oppressing. They didn't care when they went into Norway, lying that the Norway military was planning an attack on Nazi Germany, which it wasn't. They didn't care when they went into Poland, oppressing people. They didn't care when they allied with the communists in order to declare war on Poland, right? So no, like, I genuinely, I genuinely do not understand why they keep thinking that the National Socialists were white supremacists. No, they were German supremacists. They didn't care about white people in general. And the idea of whiteness in Europe didn't really exist. It's an American concept, really. Like, in Europe, we have nations, and every nation has grievance with different nations, right? Like, Romania has grievances with Hungary and Russia. Germany had grievances with the French back then and the English. It's, like, here in Europe, in the old world, borders actually matter, and historical grievances exist, especially due to wars that were fought in the past and stuff like that. But anyway, so they forgot to include the Jews. When the email was publicized, Jews on social media attacked the shocking and sickening omission. Yeah, but I'm going to defend the university here. Do you honestly think that they did this out of purpose, like out of malice? Or do you think that they were so busy trying to virtue signal that they legitimately forgot, like a mistake? What happened when people make a mistake and we're a little bit forgiving? Like, if you're going to treat it like it was an intent, the next time when there's actually intent, you will not have any extra outrage to give, right? You will not be able to highlight that the severity of the problem where intent is caused versus, the still wiggling the finger when it's just a mistake, but not as harshly. So they sent emails, and apparently from the union's equality support official. Look, they're communists. Like, equality is a communist thing, right? Liberty is a human being type of thing, right? But in order to make people equal, and I keep explaining this to everyone, and they just don't understand, you can't make a short person taller. You just can't, right? But you can cut off the legs of a tall person in order to make them shorter. Now, of course, equality under the law, brilliant concept. But to make everyone equal, like if you're a person that goes to work and slaves there 12 hours, why should you be paid the same as a colleague of yours that only works 8 hours, right? It's not equality. Not equality there. You can't make a poor person rich, but you can make a rich person poor. Well, which one is easier? Which one do you think they'll go? Take it this way. In a country where everyone is a slave, everyone is equal. Equal in suffering. In a subsequent email from the unions, blah, 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 they called it drafting errors in its initial message. They apologize. It continues to fight against all forms of anti-Semitism, hatred, and bigotry. What is I never understand fighting, like bringing violence to forms of How do you do that? How do you fight bigotry? Huh? Like, it's usually something that is inside a person's head. Like, are you going to thought police people? Are you going to what do you think about this issue? Be very careful what you say. Might get you fired. However, Jews on social media describe merely mouth adding insult to injury. Even directly say what they are apologizing for. Again, you do not apologize to these people, right? Forgiveness is a Christian thing. It's not a social justice thing, like forgiveness. This is why I keep saying, when I grew up with the most biggest evangelical twats you can imagine. Like, I'm talking about people that whenever you have the disagreement with them about Call of Duty, they will start citing the Bible from you, and explain to you why you're a piece of shit that you're going to burn in hell. But at least those people understood forgiveness, was the idea of redemption. Hell, I think, I'm genuinely curious if the Nazis didn't have redemption. You know what? Even the communists had redemption. They had the penal battalions. It's like, okay, you did bad things, you go into the penal battalion, you fight for your country, you're going to get redeemed. But no, social justice has no redemption. There is no redemption in social justice. There's just guiltiness and sin. And when you apologize, it means you confess to your crimes, and they can move over to the prosecution. The website also included the systematic murder of 6 million Jews across Europe, with the separating and dehumanizing of the Jewish people. After a number of incidents, including the organization passing of a resolution boycotting Israel academics and its disassociation from the EUMC's working definition of anti-Semitism, blah, blah, blah. They found that the General Secretary of the Union at the time asked for a meeting with Jewish community leaders to help him write an acceptable definition of anti-Semitism. Of course. You need the help of the experts to write a definition of anti-Semitism. It's not something that the average human being can come up with. Normal people cannot grasp what anti-Semitism is. You need to go and get the wisdom. You need to go and bring the specialists. The people that actually make a living fighting anti-Semitism, which have financial interests in order to make anti-Semitism as broad as possible so that they can have a lot of hate crimes in order to justify their existence. I keep saying, and I'm generally 100% convinced about this. Like, if I were to have a red button on my table, right here, right now, and if I were to press this red button, bigotry, racism, sexism, Islamophobia, homophobia, transphobia, and everything else that's bad in the world. Let's not forget anti-Semitism, because I don't want to write an apology for forgetting this. If I were to press this button, all of them would go away. All right? And I would make like a public statement saying that in 4 days I'm pressing the button. And everyone would know that if I actually pressed it, this would happen. I guarantee to you, I would be assassinated. I would be assassinated. Do you know by who? By the people that are running these NGOs. Because think about it. Like, you go to a university, to a gender studies university, or a grievance studies, or whatever the fuck they call it, and you spend thousands upon thousands of dollars in order to get the diploma. And then literally the only thing you know how to do in life, your entire existence spins around fighting bigotry. Like, if you would ever manage to end bigotry, what would you do? Like, you're not trained into doing anything else. Like, no one is going to donate to your business. No one is going to, give you publicity. You're useless. It's like the people that were cleaning horse manure. It was a big industry in London. There was every night, people who worked for the city would come up cleaning horse manure. It was a very lucrative business. Incredibly lucrative. And once people started using cars and there was no more horse scheisser, they went out of a business. So it's the same with these people that are fighting bigotry. If there is no more bigotry, how can they justify their existence? So apparently an annual opportunity for people across the UK to come together to commemorate the murder of 6 million Jews at the Holocaust, all victims of Nazi persecution and those who were murdered in subsequent genocides. And they omitted to mention the Jews. And we were pleased that they amended the information on their website. They are planning a number of activities, and we trust that the Jewish victims of the Holocaust will hold a central place within them. Responding to a request, we are deeply sorry that the incomplete version of circular detailing plans for the Holocaust memorial, blah, blah, blah. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's a nice thing to remember the Jewish people. Very, very nice. We're commemorating every year. Why do we never commemorate the Holodomor, the famine that the Soviets imposed on Ukraine, huh? The Kulak genocide. I'm just, curious. Like, are there also not other things that we should also commemorate? I'm not saying, not commemorate the Jews from the Holocaust. No, they need commemorating. But there's also other people that also require some commemorating. Because I think, like, in the West, people are kind of forgetting the horrors of communism. Kind of forget, maybe a little reminder every now and then, a refresh of memory, a refresh course would be in order. Anyway, let me know what you think. Share the video. Seriously, share my share it. You're helping me out. No, I'm not kidding. I'm a little bit worried here. A little bit worried, like you Google V and you don't find me anymore. A little bit troublesome.